Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be working on this page here of my lap book. So this is my vintage lap book that I've been making with you over the last 5 or 6 videos or so. So if you haven't already checked those out, just head on over to the videos on my channel and you'll be able to see them all from there. What I'm going to do here is make like a pocket embellishment, because as I said in my previous videos, when I first opened the journal I like to have embellished pages either side just to make it pleasing to the eye. And this is the page that I'd done in the previous video. So if you'd like to find out how I did that or just craft along with me. And this is the other page that I did in the video as well. So it's got a nice wax seal on there. I've done all of these embellishments as well on previous videos, so just check out my channel if you are interested in that. So I'm going to make a pocket here. It's going to be in quite a neutral theme colour and I am just using scraps. So first thing that I'm going to do is layer up the background. Now I've got this piece of card, yeah, it's a bag, so it was a bag from Lush. I'm going to take off a bit of the width because I don't want it to be as wide. Take a bit off the top. Let me just check how long I want it to be. So it's going to sit about there, and then I'm going to put another pocket here to the side. So probably want it to end about there. So I'm just ripping it with my ruler because I find that that gives it a really nice finish. Much prefer that than you know, straight scissor edges. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of gesso around the edge just to, again, add a little bit of grunge to the whole thing. Now I've got this large tub of gesso. I don't know why I bought such a large tub because it has lasted me forever. Okay, what I usually do is I usually get all that off there. Don't need all that. That was just a tag, and I'm going to use this tag in the project, but it doesn't matter that it'll have a bit of gesso on it. So all I do is I get a little bit off the lid, because there's always loads of caked on bits on the lid, and I'm just going to smooth it around. So I hope you can see that. And then it is all over your hands, but then I just use some fabric again, probably fabric that I'll end up using in this project, and just wipe it off, because again a little bit of gesso on the fabric will add a nice bit of character. I'm just going to give this a quick blast with my heat tool. Oh, it's not plugged in. Doesn't need to be perfectly dry, but I want to get the majority of the moisture off. And then I've got some fabric scraps here that I'm going to lay over the top. Now that's folded over there, so I'm just going to tear it at the top. So I'll make a small incision and just pull along, and that will give you a really nice frayed edge. And then I save that little bit of fabric, so I put it in my little tub. So let's just eyeball it. Where do we want it to finish? Somewhere about there. So again, small snip inside and rip it nicely like that. So you've got some nice frays there, but I'm just going to add a bit of fraying along the sides. And where I've cut it, there's like bits that are loose, so I just give them a tug. And I do save all of those, so those, you can't see very well there, but those bits of string, I do save those because they're good for, you know, adding behind embellishments and adding a little bit of character. This has already got like a little bit of tea or coffee staining around the edge. You can probably tell that the edges are a little bit darker. So you can, you know, do a bit of coffee staining on it if you want to. Now what I want to do is I want to make like a faux pocket just here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just cut along it like that. That's going to be a little fake pocket inside, but I will just fray it a little bit. Well, it's not going to be a fake pocket, but I'm going to put like half a tag in there, just poking out the top. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my sewing machine to stitch around the whole thing, but first of all I want to stamp on it. So let me move the journal out of the way, just to add a little bit of interest. Before I do that, let me make the second pocket, so that's going to sit there because then I'll know a little bit better how I want to position things. So let's have a look. I'm going to add another little pocket here to the side, I think. So let's... Oh, this is much harder to fray. It must be a different direction of weave. And I don't mind if it gets a bit messy, the fraying, because that's what I like. I like it to be uneven here and there. So there we go. And I need a backing for that now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull out my tub of scraps. Probably loads of you have seen this, and I'm just going to look through and see if I can find anything to back that pocket. That would be quite cool. That would be quite a shame to waste that though. You know, cover it up in a sense. And I'm just going to eyeball that, just rip it. And I'm going to distress this with just distress inks rather than doing the gesso around the edge, because we want them to look a bit different. The majority of this journal I've used scraps, and that is a great thing about doing a vintagey journal. Lots of all your neutral colours of scraps that you just collect over time are very useful. So I'm going to bunch this up and just distress and add a bit more colour to this pocket, because it's a little bit plain at the moment, you know, a little bit one colour. So just scrunch it up like that and get a bit of distress ink, and that also helps with the fraying as well. See, that's added a nice little bit of grungy texture to it. Okay, so that pocket I'll stitch. Okay, so I'm going to add some stamping here, maybe a bit here and a little bit at the top. So that gives me a good idea of the position of things. So let me just move the journal out of the way. Now, these are the stamps that I've pulled out just because they've got a good few backgroundy ones that I think will go. These were from a craft show, so I'm not sure the brand. Oh, they're from Pinflair, I think it says there. But there was £4 reduced in a craft show, and I thought they were great value. But you can see here, so there's a postcard one, a stamp. I think those are the ones that I'm going to use. Maybe that little flourish there. I don't very often use my stamping block, but because it's on the fabric, I just want to make sure I get a good print. So I'm going to use fade resistant dye ink. So this is Memento Tuxedo Black, and I'm going to position this under the corner, I think. So I hope you can see the stamping. Ink that up. And it doesn't matter if I don't get a perfect impression, because again with the fabric, you know, a bit, you know, if it was real vintage you'd expect it to fade anyway. Okay, leave it on there so that it can absorb the ink. Just pull that off. And I can adjust the position of this now. That looks really cool. Right, let's have a look. So I think I'll put the postage one as well, but I'll do the postage one maybe hanging off the edge a little bit. Not sure which way it's meant to go. Okay, and we've still got ink left on this half of the stamp, so I could put that, I could just put it going this way. I haven't pressed down this because I don't want to get, you know, a second generation print. Okay, and I'm just going to add a little bit up the side. I might put postcard, I think I've got one that says postcard. These are properly stuck down. That says, yeah, postcard. I'm going to have to make sure I get this the right way up now. Postcard. Where shall I put that? I might put that further up. No, I think that's enough postal theme. I don't want to overdo it. I'm going to have a look what other colour ink that I've got so that I can add some extra. Now I've got some Memento, these little small ones, they're quite good. I've got a grey. I might try and use Peanut Brittle. Maybe I will use the stamp one, the postcard one rather. And doing a lighter colour will, you know, add a little bit of definition, you know, some foreground and background type thing. Maybe I'll just put it there, postcard. Oh, that looks quite cool. Yeah, I like that. Right, I'm going to do some more in that colour as well, so it's not just on its own. Now, my favourite go-to stamp is this just script stamp. I don't put it on the board, I just sort of press it down however I want, and I'm going to do a bit of script on this piece of fabric. So I'm just going to randomly ink up somewhere in the middle because I like that design that's just there. And just press that down. I don't clean this stamp, so there may be some other colours that come through from it as well. Ah, yes, love that. That is cool. Okay, and what I've also got is these ticket stamps. And I like to, this tip come from Bohemian Crafter, just to ink the top numbers, and that's a good way to add some numbers to the whole thing. And that's basically what I use these for. They're so worn out, they're not even sticky now, so I'm not going to bother putting it on the mount. There we go. I think that's really effective, really good way. So again, here there's some ink on the my cutting mat, and I just use some of this paper, some of this fabric, just to mop it up, and it will add a really nice, you know, effect to it. So I always keep a little bit of scraps of material that I do intend to use in a project. So I'm happy with the way that has turned out. Let me just put these away because my desk is such a mess at the moment trying to get this project finished that if I don't put them away now, well, I'm just going to lose them and I'll never put them away. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go to my sewing machine and just sew this down. So I'm going to go round, I might go round twice, and then I'll go round that one as well. Okay, so I'll pause the video because you don't want to see me with the sewing machine, so I will be right back. Okay, so what I've done there is I've actually stitched round twice, and I know I said I'll stitch around the whole thing, but I've actually only stitched around the three sides. I did mean to say that, because these are going to be pockets, so that will be a pocket all the way down there, and that will be a pocket there as well. Right, so I'm going to start sticking these into the book now. I don't want to cover too much of that. I really actually like that flourish there, but that's what it is. put it a bit further down so that I can actually have something coming out of the top. Okay, where's my glue? Okay, so there's the basic pocket completed. Any of the embellishments that you add now, totally going to be up to you and depend on what you want to add. So that's just the general construction. I'm going to add a little faux tag there. So for this I've got some packaging, so I'm just going to cut that, because that's a perfect little size just to slip in there. I need trimming down slightly. And then I'm just going to turn it into a pretend tag. Just because otherwise stuff's going to get all lost all the way down there. So, there we go. Ignore the fact that it's totally out of proportion. Right. Let's just do a bit of distressing. And then just make a hole in it, and I will put some ribbon on it. So I've got some twine here that I'll use. I'll probably break that thread off. And I will cut that right down. I like to cut the strings at different lengths. Just again makes it look nice and authentic, and I'm just going to distress those by just pulling it apart a bit. Okay, now to make it a faux tag I obviously need to glue it in, because I don't want it to slip down and get lost. It's too triangularly, I think. I've probably done the sides too far in, so I'm not happy with that, so let me just redo that. I'll do it on this side, so they need to be a little bit. So what I do is I cut one and then I take it to the other side as a guide, so that they're both cut equally. There we go. That's probably going to be much better. I'll just ink that again. Good job it's a fake tag. Yeah, much prefer that. So I'm going to put a line of glue there and just feed it in, and it will stick at the back. Okay. Now what I was also hoping that I would do is put this tag in if it fits. Yeah, it does. So that's a nice shape as well at the top, but it's obviously very stark white. So what I need to do is stain it. Now what I keep at the side of my desk is just some coffee, quite strong made, and it's just in a little spray bottle. So I'm just going to spray it like that. And then I'm just going to get my heat gun and dry it off. And just whilst that's drying, again, you've got muck on the table, so get your rag and it will give you a nice bit of colour. Obviously that will dry much lighter. Oh no, smudged a little bit. Never mind, just... Now how cool does that look? You know, you can keep these things on hand. I don't always have the time to do massive batches of coffee staining. That to me looks cool, but I just want to distress the edges just to give the edge a little bit of definition. This was the tag that I used, that I scraped the gesso with, so you can't see. There we go. Bring back the page. I don't think I'm going to add any fabric to the top of this one. Ah, I should have glued that the other way. Both of these are probably going to be faux pockets now, I think, because now that is glued. Yeah, okay. Well, they're both faux pockets now. I've messed up. When you glue this tag, you should glue it on the front so it glues to the material rather than to the back, because now that I've slid that in, it's then caught on the back. So I'm just going to glue this in. You know, it's pretty decorative anyway, isn't it? So I'm going to trim those down so that you can see the back one as well. Okay, then we need to put a little tag in there, and I might put an embellishment to this side as well. So let me have a look. I was thinking I might try and put a vintage photo in there. So I've got my little box here of vintage photos. So let's have a look. It needs to be one that's portrait so that it will fit in. These might be a little bit too big. Yeah, they're going to be a little bit too big, but I have got another box that I've got some nice small photos in. So this is my second box. I just basically divide them into families. If you're interested in any of my vintage photo kits, they are all listed on my Etsy store. So I like that in there, but I might add again another tag just in the back. So let's have a look what we've got. Okay, so rather than a tag, I've got this part of this real ephemera. So it's really nice thin paper, but I think that will add a nice bit of character. So it will just fit in there. There we go. And I want to add an embellishment out here, I think. So let me have a look what we've got. I think I might just use a Tim Holtz word instead. Let's have a look. Maybe some of the phrases, because I really like the phrases. Let me put these away. Maybe a black, because then the black will go with, you know, the black here. There we go, yeah. So I think that adds quite a nice little embellishment there. So you can add, you know, whatever take you want on this. You can do in whatever theme of journal you are working on, you know, nothing to hold you back from doing that. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Do stay tuned to my channel because I just have the front cover to do and the journal will be completed, and I'll do a full flip through so everyone can see it, and it will be listed on my Etsy store as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.